When we first came to Kidderminster College in Market Street, we were based in the courtyard, which we believed, or we were told, that we were converted from the old stables. That was their theory classrooms. It was chalk and blackboard, and yeah, it was very Victorian, very dark, and yes, it had got the smell of a classroom polish and all the people that had been there before. You just felt the atmosphere in those dark cupboards where a practical classroom was in the basement, and that was a different atmosphere altogether. Quite a damp place. No natural lighting, artificial lighting.
Well, I used to go to the college. I was learning a trade. We used to have to go down there and have practical, and then used to go upstairs and they used to tell you, you know, how to do this and how to do that. And I started bricklaying when I was 13 and finished when I was 17. We used to use the basement for practical work. We used to build different bonds, and then after they finished the night, we had to knock it all down and tidy it all back up again.
Wow.
And then another night you had to go for a couple of hours, and they learned you like the proper way to do it.
Wow.
I went to work when I was 13.
Yeah.
I worked on the apprenticeship scheme, which was Ryder's apprenticeship scheme, until I put me on to another firm, which was J&R Perrins, and then I worked there till I went in the forces, you know, and come back out and went back to the same firm.
Oh, okay. So when you came back from being in the forces, you went back straight into work at the same place?
It was the law then, they had to take you back.
Okay. Remember any other subjects that they used to have there? Because I think it was originally an arts college.
Yeah, art.
Yeah.
And they used to have painting.
Yeah.
They used to do painting nude women.
Oh, did they? Life drawing.
And there was a couple of the lads know how to go up and just smile on them. Well, it was something to do.
Yeah.
There wasn't a great lot to do in Kiddy. They had a few clubs.
Oh, okay.
We were being told that we were going to be moving up to Hoo Road to a new college with all the facilities. The move up to Hoo Road was quite an eye-opener, really, because then we moved into a modern building. We had purpose-built workshop with all the facilities and plenty of space and plenty of light. Big doors that could open on appropriate days, so we got daylight and fresh air coming into the workshop. It was a totally different scenario from what we had at Market Street. There was a buzz because there was enough people there to make it interesting, and you were all journeying about, going into your respective rooms to have your lessons. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
It was like a family atmosphere. It was lovely. You know, everybody who came said they felt part of it as soon as they walked through the door. So you had the reception, then you walked the one way and you went all down to all the workshops. The other way you went round to the left, you went to the canteen. The main big hall where they did all the drama, the sports. You felt part of, it was like a part of family. You were all like a unit. Nobody was any different then. You were all treated the same. But there was photography on fifth floor, yeah, on there. Oh. Yeah, he was Norris was. Yeah. He was a character.
I've heard many things about Norris. Tell me about Norris. What was he like?
Oh, he was lovely. He used to come in because we were open on Saturdays then, and he used to come in because they used to have live animals, rats and things on the science side. He used to come in every Saturday and feed the animals, clean them out, and check out his photography, I presume, you know. What else did he do? And then, of course, when we moved down here, it was the same. He was always in shorts. Always. He was here, and he must have started in 60, I think he said 68, 1968 he started. I'm sure it was 68. And of course, on Saturday mornings, students still came in because they had different things going on. Well, I mean, they went canoeing. They took part in the carnival. And so on Christmas time, the music department and some of the care people, they did a pensioners party in the canteen, and they entertained them and waited on them for some of the local people.
Oh, that's really lovely.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah. And John Cottrell.
Yeah.
Just tell me a bit about him. Can you describe what he was like? What was he? How was his approach with people, and how was he? You know, how did he lead the college? What was his achievements? Do you think while he was there?
He was. If you had a problem, you could go and discuss it with him. Nothing was too much trouble. He came down and and taught to I can't call them kids. Taught to the kids then. But he was lovely. But even his deputy Ed, which was John Williams, he was exactly the same. You know, so he, as I said, nothing. He didn't treat anybody any different, from a lecturer down to a student. You were all treated equal.
Yeah, when we moved into the new college, which was in 2002, we actually moved in partway through a year. We moved in the literally across the Easter week, fortnight holidays. So it's quite a military sort of organised operation for everything to be packed up. Literally the last week of half term at college, and then over the holiday everything got moved in great big boxes, and you sort of arrived in the new building with 101 boxes all needing unpacking within a few days before all the students actually started to turn up and arrive. But surprisingly, it actually worked quite efficiently and quite well, considering it was mid-year, and it didn't really disturb a lot of the learning and the students too much. What was interesting about the new college was it created a completely different sort of atmosphere, in terms of you saw a lot more people a lot more often. Because with the design of the building, it's quite a compact building based around a central sort of core, with most of the floors doing a full circle around the floor. So you could sort of wander around the building in any direction and always end up at the stairs or the lifts, which meant you're just regularly bumping into lots of people from different courses. One thing that did retain and carried through was that Kidderminster College in the old building and in the new building was always a very friendly college, and something that was commented on by a lot of the inspection teams. Whenever we had inspectors, they were always amazed at how friendly the whole college was, and how friendly a lot of the students and a lot of the staff were. I think that's something that's always been sort of a mark of Kidderminster College in the old building and in the new building, which is typical in many ways of small colleges. Particular characters. I think the college always had particular characters. There was someone that everybody would have always known, which was Norris. Norris was a technician in the audiovisual areas, and consequently was based in the library when I knew him. He would also taught photography, and would have taught hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people part-time photography in the evenings, because he was a really popular tutor. He used to teach it in the evenings and in the afternoons really as well. Norris Trout was always sort of around the college, always scurrying about, always busy, literally would be in the college 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, getting things ready for all the classes and preparing all the classes and what have you. Then he'd sort of be about in the daytime teaching, then he'd be about again in the evening teaching, what have you, and seemed to be here all the time. Had been with the college for 42 years, I think it was, as a technician and a teacher. He retired, and he was known by an awful lot of people around the college. The principal, John Cottrell, was a character you saw, but no one ever really talked to him very much. You know, it was very much, I suppose, in the traditional days where the principal was there and he was busy in his office. But certainly as students, you didn't really get to know the principal at all back in the 80s, which is quite different to the way that colleges often are these sort of days. Yeah, the tower block, the A block was sort of mostly referred to as the tower block usually, and it looked like an enormous, huge building from the outside, but when you're inside, it felt much more personal and much smaller. it tended to be divided, with the ground floor being sort of the entrance area to the lifts, and then the library behind the lifts themselves as you came in, which were just to the right hand side of the main entrance. As you came in the main entrance, the underneath of the tower block was all the student services areas, and then as you went upstairs, the first floor was actually all the administration, principal's office, senior manager's offices, and all of the admin staff, which were behind a sort of a closed-in counted area where you could actually go and pay your monies and collect your paperwork from and hand in your paperwork and information to. Above those were classes of classrooms which were used for a mixture of things over the years, what have you. Initially, some of them were sort of A-level classrooms, just general classrooms, but as you moved up the tower block to the sort of the 4th, 5th, 6th floors, you were into sort of art and design areas where there was a mixture of the floor covering interior textiles degree courses and the art and design foundation courses. And the very top of the tower block on the 8th floor was the position where the old library was when the college was first built. So the old library was in a purpose-built 8th floor sort of room, which was all lined with sort of dark mahogany built-in sort of shelving. But that had actually become a big room for use by the carpet courses. Certainly by the early 80s, it was already being used by the carpet courses, and the library had moved downstairs. The art and design areas had actually got a whole range of specialist ceramics workshops up there, and huge screen print table areas as well. And the carpet design courses obviously got all their original sort of tufting and design studios and fabrication and manufacturing sort of studios up there. The main area that you came into the college opened into a main reception area, and off the main reception area was the old theatre, which was a huge sort of traditional theatre with a big sort of stage set at the end of it, and changing rooms and facilities behind it. And it was to the side of that, as you went round the quadrangle, that you came into the refectory area, where there was a big open plan refectory area, which in effect ran on both sides of the actual corridor. The one side was more a quiet common room area, and the other side was actually the food eating area. As you sort of walked down through there was some of the student services facilities, and also some of the apprenticeship facilities were actually based in offices along the corridors as you worked your way down towards the what in the 80s were actually recording studios, where some of the music technology was just starting to be developed, and ultimately things like the music business management courses were developed into. Round the back of the college, the newest part was actually the D block, which was built in sort of the mid-70s sort of time, and that was fairly just standard corridors of classrooms, fairly largest classrooms, where the majority of the A-level and humanities and sciences were sort of were actually taught in terms of classroom type activity, and those sort of led and faced onto the quadrangle, which was in the centre of the actual college buildings. Along the main road at the front of the college, to the right of the tower block, was actually the B block, which was where all of the classrooms were downstairs, and in those days that was a lot of business administration, and the beginning of IT in the early 80s was actually going into there. But upstairs was all the old science chemistry labs, where there was at one time I believe there was up to 15 sort of science classrooms up there, all with mahogany benches and mahogany worktops and all sort of science sinks and chemical rooms in there, because science was a huge area when it was part of the actual carpet industry courses, where they were doing sort of carpet science and dye science and dyeing studies for the carpet industry. Behind the D block was all the C block, and that was sort of the huge classrooms and huge workshops, which actually originally were built for all of the carpet weaving training and for all the engineering, which was the associated activity to support a lot of the engineering within the carpet industry itself. By the early 80s, a lot of the carpet industry stuff had sort of died out. There was very little going on at all to do with the carpet engineering and the carpet manufacturing side of things, or the carpet science. It was just the carpet design stuff, which happened in the tower block. And so engineering had moved and was focusing on the traditional sort of manufacturing engineering and workshop engineering, and a lot of the carpet technology rooms were actually originally sort of lying empty, and that's why ultimately art and design actually then moved into some of those carpet technology loom rooms, as they were. At the end of the engineering workshops, there was a motor vehicle which was really accessed, although it was at the far end of the actual motor vehicle of the engineering corridors, was generally accessed from the car park at the back of the college itself. And there was a sort of small motor vehicle sort of workshop activity, which for years and years was run by quite a character called Harry Siddle. Harry Siddle was quite well known by a lot of people locally, seemed to have been there forever. And family had a shop business as well that he was quite well known for. But Harry was always to be seen in his sort of white overalls and always with oily hands working with the students wherever he was. And half the time, a whole range of the staff and the student cars would always be appearing at the back of the college, where the students were actually sort of helping out and doing things on the vehicles down there. Just next to the actual motor vehicle workshops was the boat building workshop. Historically, Kidderminster had got boat building courses which were in there, starting traditionally with wood, and then it moved into fiberglass manufacturing, and they were part of the woodworking sort of activities which were at the end of the C block corridors. By the early 80s, the boat building had more or less come to a halt as boat building. It was just primarily doing sort of carpentry and joinery stuff for the building trades, and little bits of fiberglass work for the boats. But by probably by 1993, I think that had virtually stopped altogether, and those had again been moved across for other uses. Yeah, the theatre performances in the theatre. I mean, quite regularly through the 70s, I can remember my sister actually going to lots of events there, because there was a whole range of actually performances that used to go on with bands and touring bands that would often sort of appear either in the town hall or at Kidderminster College, and it became for a long time quite a big venue for music activities. Part of the issues had actually become that the college buildings themselves were old local authority buildings and hadn't really been invested in that much significantly over quite a long period of time, and allegedly there was almost like £1 million worth of repair work to roof repairs and alterations and improvements that needed to be made to suit the buildings. But we were also in this situation where those wonderful art and design rooms I was telling you about, which were engineering spaces, were very difficult to use for anything. What we were moving into is an era where IT was expanding, business studies and business administration was expanding enormously, and you needed sort of modern IT classrooms, and you needed a completely different sort of building. And when we looked at it, business strategy-wise, it became clear that there was an opportunity to look at moving to a much more appropriately sized and appropriately sort of built college. And so the new principal who'd come in to try and sort out and resolve things, which was Andrew Miller, and myself and Derek Harrison, who was the deputy principal at the time, looked at things and actually agreed that what really needed to happen was potentially a move into a new building. And strangely, we made actually the opposite decisions to what was happening locally at the time, because around that sort of time, all the other colleges in the area were moving to greenfield sites and moving out into sort of lovely areas where they could build quite easily and quite freely. And we made the decision that actually what would be right for Kidderminster College was to actually move right into the town centre and become a town centre college. And although that brought with it, the difficulties and the problems of being very central and not having car parking and those sort of things, what it did mean is that the college was actually right in front of everybody, because everybody at the age group we were looking to target, which was a shift of the college away from what was mostly 70% adult learners to then becoming mostly sort of 16 to 18-year-old learners, was a key issue for the colleges over the next sort of 4 or 5 years, because that's where funding was moving to. And interestingly, what happened was the college ended up moving back onto the site that it was at originally with the old Victorian building. There was an old Victorian building in the town centre, one half of which was the College of Science and Technology, and then became the College of Art, Science and Technology, and the other half of which was the town library. And they were demolished, or when I was little, back in the 70s. And the site lay empty for about 20 years or more. And a multi-storey car park got built on the one half of it, and then there's the outdoor old cattle market car park next to it as well. And we actually moved back in, and there'd been a new library built on the site where the old college used to be, and the college as it is now is actually built on the site where the old library used to be. So they flipped sides.